The advisory group focuses on three areas: supporting governments to strengthen their institutional capacity for transformation, and under that also is the support for macroeconomic policies. The third area is extractives, where we now have what we call the Extractive Services Program, supporting governments to put together sound strategies and policies to manage the extractive sector in a sustainable way. From ACET's perspective, when we're talking about transformation, we're talking about major shifts in structural composition of the economy. And the role of the state is very critical. We call ourselves a think and do tank, and the do part is the advisory. Our approach, what we would call building smart institutions, is not to dictate to governments. And our methodology is that it has to be demand driven. So where governments are particularly interested in our services and we have proven record of what we can do, then it becomes a lot easier. We draw a lot on African expertise. One of our basic value proposition is to provide an authentic African response to African problems. And to do that, we believe that we need to tap into the rich experience of many Africans, both in the diaspora as well as on the continent, to be able to advise governments in areas which are much more culturally sensitive, have practical local knowledge that would assist governments in taking the right decision. China-Africa work was one of the first analytical work that ACET undertook, and this is in recognition of the fact that the phenomenon of Chinese investment is growing in Africa, and there was the need to better understand the dynamics. And so we did a number of analytical work, particularly looking at the various commercial and economic engagements that China has with African countries, and we did specific country case studies to provide us with more in-depth knowledge about the dynamics in selected countries. And what we're doing beyond those analytical work is also helping governments that are interested, for example, working now in Liberia, to begin to craft a strategic partnership arrangement anchored in their own long-term plans, build the capacity for government and the private sector to respond more positively and proactively to the Chinese overtures in their countries. We're working with the National Development Planning Commission to come up with recommendations that would allow them to strengthen their capacity to be more responsive and position themselves as the apex institution that deals with medium to long-term planning in the country. I think the prospects are very good. Okay, certainly all eyes on Africa today. A lot of interest in investment. Private sector, is growing pretty fast. Over the last several years, you can see a rising trend in GDP growth. But more should be done and more can be done, particularly at the regional level. What Africa needs to do is to transform, not just look at growth per se. Transforming meaning that you change the structural composition of the economy, you increase the value addition to your raw materials rather than exporting raw materials. You are able to move up the value chain. So we need to adapt new technologies. Increasing productivity is going to be one of the drivers of growth in Africa and transformation.